Today's many things is proof that despite the naysayers, we can make meaningful progress on dealing with gun violence. Because make no mistake, sit down, you'll hear what I have to say. If you think you...
I've been trying to tell you this for years.
Let me finish my comment. Let him talk. Let him talk. No one, okay? Because make no mistake about it, this legislation is real progress, but more has to be done. The provision of this new legislation is going to save lives, and it's proof that today's politics, we can come together on a bipartisan basis to get important things done, even on an issue as tough as guns.
So there you have President Joe Biden giving a speech heralding the passage of the bipartisan gun safety bill that we'll discuss how much it does and how much it doesn't do. But you have a father there, actually the father of one of the students killed in Parkland at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where 14 students were killed. That's Manuel Oliver, and his son was one of the kids killed. It was hard to hear exactly what he was saying. You could hear him say, I told you this, I've been telling you this. We have some indication, other than the reality of how many mass shootings, including in schools, continue to happen. We have some indication of why Manuel was upset. He actually appeared on CNN earlier that day. So take a look.
Well, it's been a while that I've been calling out that using the word celebration, getting together, it's like we're going to a party, to a wedding today. We're all receiving invitations, and meanwhile, you can see these mothers in Uvalde that just saw how their kids were massacred inside the school. So, for me, it's not only not enough what we're passing. And you know very well what I've been preaching for, and even the president asked for more, and it's not happening. So I really wish there was more in this package of bills, and I will do whatever I can to get more in this package of bills. This is not the beginning or the end. There's a lot of people saying this is the beginning, this is the end. No, this is part of a process. And there is no reason for this event to be called as it's called right now. Like we are celebrating and getting together in the White House. So space for that word.
So right, a problem with the word celebration, a problem with the legislation not going farther enough. Again, Manuel Oliver's son, 17-year-old Joaquin, was killed, and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, Parkland, in that massacre that claimed 13 other kids' lives. Briefly, what this bipartisan legislation does, we all know, is it includes $13 billion in new spending for mental health programs and for securing schools. It makes background checks and stricter for gun buyers under 21, helps to close the so-called boyfriend loophole to restrict domestic violence offenders from purchasing guns, and incentivizes red flag laws to remove firearms from people deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. I do want to mention, however, that our most recent sort of headline grabbing mass shooting was in Highland Park, Illinois, and this new bipartisan legislation would not have actually stopped that killer from obtaining his weapons. State police confirmed that Crimo passed 4 background checks between June 2020 and September 2021 when purchasing firearms, which included checks of the federal National Instant Criminal Background Check System. And that's one of many shooters that have slipped through the background check system that's already in place. David, your response to maybe this the celebration, as it were, outside of the White House and the reaction of this father.
Well, a couple of things. Clearly, the gun legislation does not go far enough. But I know that from having covered the White House, that the way these invitations are issued, sometimes words do matter. And I think this is on the Biden White House, to the extent that they invited any parent for a celebration of progress. No, that's not the right word. It should be, come join us as we mark some steps towards something that might prevent the deaths of other children. And to the extent that the White House either used celebration and invitation, or how it was relayed to the families who were invited there, or how it was used on the program, that was a mistake, because you can imagine the pain that these families are still going through after having lost a child through gun violence. And legislation, yes, it's progress, but it's certainly not as far as these families would want, and they're still grieving. And whatever humiliation, whatever grief Biden supporters are feeling because of this interruption is nothing compared to the grief that these families are still going through.
Yeah, and it makes me think, like, if you're going to invite the families at all, why not have them speak? You know, I mean, it's so removed from your own experience. You're not a good messenger for this, right? And granted, maybe Manuel Oliver wouldn't have agreed to speak. Maybe he would have wanted, whatever, but that's part of it. You kind of have to, like, let's listen to someone who is a direct victim of this kind of gun violence, whose family was impacted. It's funny because I'm thinking of the earlier story. I'm thinking of, Joe Biden's reversal when it comes to criminalization of drugs, and knowing that his son Hunter did struggle with drug addiction, as we've now seen in all these videos that have leaked that we're supposed to be, like, surprised about. And you're like, it touched him personally. That's how he has changed his mind on it. Let a dad speak. Let another dad speak on this, right?
Or if they're not gonna speak, Francesca, frame this in the way Joe Biden remarks and says, welcome to the White House. This is not a celebration, but I am humbled that all of you who have suffered so greatly through this are with me in this cause that continues. And make it a very somber, sad event, that you're so sad that we have to have this kind of legislation, that we have a gun problem. Don't make it as a, hey, isn't this great that we got some bipartisan stuff together? No, that's not the right tone. And to the extent the White House put forward that tone, that was a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to see him say, let him speak. No, let me finish. Wait, let him speak. I don't know. And then, of course, he gets escorted out in the end.